If you want to survive here, you must study at least 2 hours a day. That's what my teacher told me on my first day of high school. But I managed to get top grades while barely studying and without doing most of my homework. So how exactly do you survive without studying? We gotta work out the best way to obtain, understand, and memorize all the topics covered in class. The most efficient way to obtain the knowledge you need is to get it directly from the teacher. It makes sense. You have to attend class anyway, so you might as well try to pay attention. The best way to do it is to grab a pen and paper and write down everything that distracts you right now. If you are too lazy for that, I can give you some ideas. Your teacher is so boring that everything else becomes more interesting. You must find a way to remove those distractions. You could shut down your phone and ask your desk mate to not disturb you and keep you accountable. It turns out that if you politely ask something to people, they usually listen. And if your desk mate is a douchebag, sit somewhere else next time. It's so easy to solve all your problems if you actually try. The challenge comes when daydreaming about your crush becomes more interesting than the lesson, because you can't really kick them out of your head. The solution is to make the lesson more interesting. Okay, you might be thinking I'm crazy, you might be right, but hear me out. There's this thing in psychology called confirmation bias. Basically, if you think something is bad, your brain will point out all the bad things. But if you think something is good, it will point out the good stuff. You could apply that to school. Try to think about everything you kind of like and keep a positive attitude. It's not going to always work, but you may as well try. Yo, I just wanted to make sure you are paying attention. If you really want to study less, try out that journaling thing I mentioned earlier. And if you don't have a pen, you can use ChatGPT to brainstorm. It's like having a personal Socrates listening to your school problems. Let's get back to the video. Now, let's say you've tried everything, but you are too tired to listen. You're probably not sleeping enough. I promised you a video on optimizing sleep about 6 months ago, and I still haven't made it. So here's a crash course. 1. Go to bed at the same time every day. Even I struggle with this, but going to bed on time is the most important thing. 2. Don't play Fortnite or watch Cobra Kai before going to bed. If you cut out movies and video games, you'll fall asleep faster. 3. Eat your last meal way before bed. Most people say 3 hours is best, but they probably made up that number. Just remember this: the earlier, the better. This should optimize your sleep quality. Understanding the topic is key to ace your exams, and it is what allows you to remember stuff in the long term. There are 2 strategies you can apply to do this, but the prerequisite is taking notes. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Taking notes is boring. I thought that too, but now that I do it regularly, I can stay concentrated for longer, and it's easier for me to recall small details I would usually forget. With that said, let's get to the strategies. This is a no-brainer. If you don't understand something in class, raise your hand and ask the teacher. If you got distracted and missed something, raise your hand and ask the teacher. If the teacher explains something 5 times and you still don't understand it, raise your hand and you got the point. If social anxiety is stopping you from doing it, remember this: any teacher in the world prefers the stupid student who's interested in their subject to the smart student who doesn't give a shit. I'll say that again. Any teacher prefers the stupid student who's interested to the smart student who doesn't give a shit. But what about classmates? What if they make fun of you? In my opinion, they are going to do the opposite, because you are the only one brave enough to ask everything you need to the teacher. What's the best way to study something like history? Should you go in chronological order or the other way around? In my opinion, the best way is to study everything at once. You should start with a super brief summary that covers everything and then gradually add details until you become an expert. I made a video where I go super deep on this topic. You'll find it up here. Anyway, making lists, maps, and summaries is OP because you're not passively learning, you are actively organizing. You can do everything I mentioned here while you take notes in class, but if you choose to study at home, there's another way to apply this principle. My friend Robert taught me this, and he's a math genius. You should listen to him. When you are reading from the textbook, as soon as you finish every paragraph, stop reading and make a summary of what you just read out loud. I rarely do it because I'm lazy, but it's probably the most efficient way to understand the subject. If you also pair that up with the speed reading techniques I taught you in this video, the whole process will be even faster. Let's say you're trying to apply these principles, but your math teacher is not the best and the book is not super clear. If you want to speed up your learning, you can use brilliant.org for free. They explain math so well that everything just clicks. Whether you're studying simple algebra or advanced calculus, they have a course on it. Their lessons are super short and super intuitive. There are cool cool interactive animations, and a lot of questions to make the learning process active. Robert would be proud. I've been using them for a while and I was super happy when they asked me to sponsor this video. If you use my link or scan the QR code that I'll leave in the screen, you will get a 30-day free trial and a 20% discount. This way, you can study for your next math exam for free and only pay if you keep using their platform. If you join, you can also learn about data analysis with modules on clustering, understand how AIs like ChatGPT work in an intuitive way, and even learn how to program your own in Python. That's pretty cool stuff in my opinion. I would check them out. You got nothing to lose. You probably already know how to memorize information, but here's how you can do it faster. I'll show you a powerful technique that you can use to remember tedious information that you can't really organize in a map like I showed you earlier. Imagine you're entering your own house. What's the first room you see? For me, it's the living room. Now, I want you to choose 3 places in your room. I'm going to choose the sofa, the TV, and the carpet. Now, put 3 objects in the places you've chosen. Fire hydrant, a balloon, and some batteries. Do it in a creative way. For example, the hydrant is lying on the sofa, the balloon is trying to lift the TV, and the batteries are rolling in the carpet. Now, why did I ask you to do this? The hydrant means hydrogen, the balloon is for helium, and the batteries stand for lithium. If you keep going, you can memorize the entire periodic table in order. Just add more rooms and maybe use 5 locations for each instead of 3. There is also a technique you can use to remember numbers, but it's too complicated to explain it in this video. I learned it in Super Brain, a course by Jim Quick that I'll leave in the description. It's super cool and I highly recommend it, but you can also find video about the technique if you Google phonetic number system. Oh, I'll also make a video about it in the near future. Yo! The video has finished, so I'm going to give you some actionable steps. If you want to survive school without studying, 1. Take notes in class to stay concentrated. 2. Ask a lot of questions to the teacher to understand the topic. 3. Use the mnemonic techniques I taught you to memorize the hardest parts. 4. Download Brilliant right now. There is also a free version you can use. And finally, watch this video if you want to truly understand what you study. See you there.